Hi. You're throwing my fader? Thank you. I guess we should start. My watch says 1:59 and 58 seconds, and I feel that official about things, even though I know people will still be coming in. So I will start by giving an introduction. My name is Debbie Levitt. I'm the CEO of a company called As Was. I started it in 1995. We do branding, marketing, design, and strategy, mostly for eBay and online sellers, so I do a lot of e-commerce stores. But I always try to bring a sense of UX and UI to the party, a little sense of human psychology and human behavior. I've been asked to do a lot of consulting, so I've been spinning off my consulting under another company, so you may see me around here as Brass Flowers. I'm looking to kind of rebrand in that direction. So today, it's my Brass Flowers hat on. I promise I will do my best to get through this. They want me to get through it in 30 minutes, and I have about 72 topics to cover, so I apologize if I go at East Coast speed. Just feel free to wave at me and go, slow down, slow down. But I will stay for questions at the end until time ends. I'll be here, I'll be outside. I've got some business cards down there in case anybody wants to find me later. Questions are always free. So here's the things I hope to be covering in the next half hour. We've got finding your niche, choosing a name for your software, clear and unique branding, customer support, and marketing via interacting with users. Also, of course, user interface. And one interesting thing I want to mention about my slides is I handed in a bunch of slides that looked like this and had all these bullet points on them, and they said, we'd like you to give a presentation that has no words on the screen. We don't want anyone to read anything while you're talking. Take all the words off the screen. We're not going to give people this presentation later, so they don't need your talking points. So I want to tell you this is a little bit of an experiment. Everyone put on your performance art hat. So don't think that I'm crazy and showed you a presentation with no words. They actually asked me to do that. So wish me luck. That's what they asked for. A gigantic picture. I'm from the desert. I drink a lot of water. Please excuse me. So let's start with the idea that your application or software needs to solve at least one problem. There has to be something that it's going to do for people that they can't already do now. Because people are sometimes very loyal to what they're doing, or they just hate change. So we have to make sure that it's giving something to your target user that they don't already have. Whether that has to do with better support, better features, better updated, some way that it's going to be different from what they're doing now so that they will drop what they've got and move towards what you've got. We also have to think about learning from what didn't work. I work a lot with eBay sellers and eBay developers, and I feel like time after time people are building the same eBay thing. They call it a gallery. It's just a bunch of marching eBay items that move along in this flash piece. There's dozens of them, and I feel like there isn't a lot of innovation in that space, and people haven't learned from where other products have failed. So do your Googling, take a look at what's been going on. I had some clip art of a sad face, and they said that was too silly, take it out. So try to learn from what has not been working for other people as well to see where you might fit into the marketplace. Oh, they don't have my cool fonts. So make sure that your name is memorable and easy to spell. I think we can all name companies or products we've heard about or worked with where their company name was not easy to spell. When you read it, you weren't sure how to pronounce it. When you told someone they couldn't figure out how it might be spelled. That is a disconnection already. That's going to make your branding harder. I don't know how many of you, like me, made it through the dot-com crash, but I remember there was a pretty well-known company at the time called Pandesic, which went down in flames in the dot-com crash. And I remember every time I heard that name, I wanted to say, ask your doctor if Pandesic is right for you. And it was a company that I think was some sort of wing of Intel or something, so it had nothing to do with your pancreas. But I think that there's a real fine line here between people with these made-up words and a name that's trying to mean something or sound very important. So the most important things are make sure it's memorable, people are going to drop an anchor and remember it, and that people will be able to spell it because they're going to tell a friend. We hope they will. In marketing, there's a few schools of thoughts in naming a product or company or service. You've got empty and full vessel. The idea of full vessel is something has been named of pretty much what it does. Debbie's User Interface Consultancy. That's pretty much what I'm only going to do because that's what my name is. So that's called a full vessel. It's full, no room for anything else. Then you've got your empty vessel names, which are more about, they could be anything, your eBay, your Aswas, your Brass Flowers, your Yahoo, your Amazon. Well, even though those may be normal sounding words, we don't really know what that company does until we connect to their marketing and understand their message. So that's considered an empty vessel name. I could wake up tomorrow and decide that Brass Flowers is a manicure and haircut shop. And nobody would necessarily care because it's my job to do that branding and marketing. So it's an empty vessel. It's got lots of room for expansion. And then you have what's sometimes called a half-full vessel from the point of view of you get some idea of what this might be about or what industry it's in, but you're not really totally set on what it is. So I looked through the PayPal developer database, and I found these, and I thought they had some good half-full names. You knew it had something to do with payments or lending money, but you don't know exactly what it is. And in some cases, I would say PayPal is the same way. We know it has something to do with payment, but we don't know exactly what it is. Ooh, a slide with words. So consider not using prefix vowels. I'm super tired of e this and I that. I think that we're not doing things that are unique enough, and if I had to guess, I would think Apple probably thinks they own the letter I at this point. So I think we have to stay away from that if possible. Stay away from the made-up words, your pandesic and things like that, because again, anything that people can't really grasp onto and make sense out of, they're likely to disconnect. And we don't want to give any reason for people to disconnect from your application or software or company. Unconventional spellings of traditional words. The one that came to mind, and again, I don't know how many of you are left over from years ago in the internet space, beans. Anybody remember the website that claimed it was going to be a payment system, B-E-E-N-Z? Now, if I say beans to you, not only do you picture beans, but you envision B-E-A-N-S. And this was B-E-E-N-Z. And so when I tell a friend that, they're not going to get it. And the question is your target audience really going to say, well, it's beans, but it's two E's, not E-A, and it's a Z, not an S. Don't forget it. I think that people are really unlikely to kind of go through your spiel. So what I tell people is, if you find yourself spelling your name for people over and over, you may want to think about rebranding, because if you don't think they're going to get it when they hear it, there's going to be a disconnection along the line. Something based on a non-English word. I've had people say to me, check out this awesome idea I had to name my company. This word is from Chinese. I've actually had someone say, this word is from Finnish. And my feeling is that's great if your target audience is Chinese or Finnish. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't speak either language. And I don't know if I'm going to figure out how these things are spelled or pronounced. And more funnily, though I probably would not be allowed to give any examples, take the time to look through urbandictionary.com, which has usually slang and unattractive definitions of what are sometimes a couple of common words put together to mean something you wouldn't do on your worst night out. And sometimes a couple of words you've slapped together thinking that's going to be a great company or product name is actually slang for some sort of unholy act. So as you're brainstorming this stuff, check that it's not in urbandictionary.com. So another question I like to get people thinking about is the idea of loyalty. Do users have to stop using another application to use yours? So think about the idea of the iPod. It's very unlikely that you're going to throw away your iPod so that you can buy a Microsoft Zune or a Creative Zen. Usually if you're throwing away your iPod, it's to buy the next iPod. So people are very loyal and they're wanting to stay with what they have. So make sure if you're introducing a new application or piece of software that there is something better that you're offering people now. There has to be something that's going to make them connect to it and want to go with yours. And that's where we start talking about differentiation. So differentiation is the idea of why should I buy this from you, or why should I use yours? There have to be things that make you stand out from other applications. Again, you may be sitting next to someone who is building a very similar application or already has. So why should I go with yours instead of yours? Well, think about things like, can you provide better support? Are you providing more updates? Are you providing more features? Sometimes it's not a matter of more. Sometimes it's a matter of target audiences. Perhaps yours is going to be the best for moms, and yours is going to be the best for college-age guys. And you're each going to organize everything your application does around giving that target audience what they need and what makes them feel good. So that might be the user interface, the design, the layout, how you approach support. Maybe with the college guys, you're doing more tweeting. Maybe with the moms, you provide a customer service phone number. Think about ways in which your app or software can stand out from others that may be like it. So this is an actual picture of my grandmother. She's 91, and she hates Windows. She insists on using DOS at 91. She still goes to work every day. And my point here is your target audience is really hooked on the things that they are comfortable with. It's really hard to take people outside of their comfort zones. It's hard to teach dogs new tricks when they're people. And we want to make sure that our application is catering to people as much as possible to let them do things the way that feels natural to them. If you've ever built an app that tried to drag people down a path they wouldn't naturally go, they probably resisted. And they wrote you emails, it doesn't work right, it doesn't do what I'm thinking. So this is to remind me, you've got to cater to that target audience. And when I was growing up, they used to say in TV commercials, so easy, a child can figure it out. But now that children are growing up with this technology, it's really so easy a grandma can figure it out. And that's nothing against grandmas. I'm talking more about the people who didn't grow up with this technology and need things to be what I sometimes call iPhone app simple. It just has to be absolutely obvious. Oh, sorry, things are missing off my slide. I don't know where they went. There's a giant star in the middle of this slide. So when I think about user experience and usability and user interface, I think of them really boiled down in the most simple way to a combination of 4 things. And who doesn't love Venn diagrams? So I start with the idea of mood and personality. I think when you're thinking about websites, applications, mobile-friendly websites, think about giving them some sort of design and mood and personality. Not just color, not just slapping your logo at the top. People are more and more visual. They don't want to read. It's about really giving a company image, and we'll talk more about that in some other slides. Then we've also got natural human behavior. How are we going to cater to the idea that this is how much attention span they have to read something? This is where their eye is likely to go. This is a button they're likely to click, and this is a button they're likely to ignore, not notice. If you guys have done this before, you've probably seen some of these issues. So this is all about user interface. But once people have some trouble or a great experience, it's part of the whole user experience. In my opinion, anything that touches a customer is part of their user experience and can make or break that relationship. Moving on from natural human behavior, we have what I like to call herding sheep. So the people who visit your website or use your application are the sheep. And they want to get from A to B. They have a specific goal when they got there. They didn't search Google for a ball of yarn and end up on your website. There was something very specific they were looking to do or buy or try, and they ended up with you. So how can we make sure in our design and in our user interface that we are herding those sheep and making sure that we get them most easily and most obviously where they're trying to go? It has to be intuitive. Nobody wants to read frequently asked questions. Nobody wants to send you an email or call you. They just want to get there, and again, iPhone easy. They just want to click things and figure it out and not feel like an idiot for not knowing. So we've got to think about herding our sheep. What did they come here to do, and how fast can we get them there? And that leads us right into ease of use. We want to make sure that that website or application feels easy, effortless, no-brainer. We want people to naturally figure it out. Oh, really? Okay. There's my star. So I was supposed to blur logos so you have no idea what website this is. But I'm here to ask you, and feel free to yell out friendly or unfriendly adjectives. When you look at a website like this, what are some of your gut reactions about it? And when I talk about mood adjectives, I mean cold, warm, friendly, inviting, easy, complicated. Anyone want to yell out something they feel about this website and its design and layout? What was it? Okay, and what was over here? Pushy? Okay, anybody else? Designed for men. Okay, well, it's not pink enough, maybe? Or it doesn't have enough flowers? We'll actually get to the flowers in a future slide. So my point is, no matter how they've decided to lay this out, you are forming opinions about it. You are making decisions about it. You are saying, this appeals to me or this doesn't appeal to me. I feel connected to this, I feel disconnected. Now, these are all subconscious. You don't know you're doing that, but your mind is doing that, especially as I'm, throwing you some lines and you're coming back. So think about what is your target, who is your target audience? Is it grandma? Who's your target audience? And how will they feel? Here's another screenshot. Throw some adjectives at me, people. Busy. Overwhelming. Where do I look? Anyone lose their lunch? Okay, anyone feeling like they're falling through a bottomless tunnel? I stumbled on this site when one of my clients said, I want that. And I just about expired. So to me, this has a million problems with all of the little circles in our Venn diagram. You've got your search bar at the top. You have navigation at the top. You have pull-down menus on the left. You have categories and subcategories on the left. You've got stuff on the right. You've got featured products in the middle. I just want a toner cartridge for my HP 2605. What do I do? What do I do? Heard me. I came here. I found you. Heard me. The most eye-catchy thing on the page, I guess I'll ask you, where does your eye go on this page? Everywhere? Someone said everywhere? What did you say? The people, exactly. Chances are your eye naturally went to the giant picture of the printer, which you then looked away from because you said, I know, I'm here for a printer. What else do you have? And because again, I'm acting out, it's a Shining Time station and I'm acting out your brain processes. So then you look at the people, because people like to look at other friendly faces. Now, funny enough, and you may not be able to see it from where you're sitting, but the message associated with the friendly picture of the friendly people is call us. Now, how many here, whether you've already built an app or you plan to, how many people hope to get phone calls from customers? How many people want to make sure that the number one thing on their website homepage that people are looking at is the message to stop shopping my website, pick up the phone, and call me? I think that's a mistake. I also hate columns, but I'm not sure I have time to go into how much I hate columns and why. But basically my feeling is it's not herding sheep. It's opening too many gates for sheep. You open up too many gates for sheep and they just go running. So I think that this is not doing the best job herding sheep. And of course, this doesn't pass what I call the thumb test. And you guys are going to take this with you when you go home. It's free because it's your own thumb. I'm not selling you one. All you have to do is when you look at a website, put your thumb over that logo on the top left. Now, whose website is it? In this case, anybody's. There's no mood or personality. There's no company image. So when someone shows me a website like this and says, check out this website design I had done, I say, great, where's the design? You have a layout. You have some sort of organization that you decided you liked, even though I don't like it. You have a stock photo of a printer. Where is your design? So I try to explain to people in my world, it's my opinion, you can disagree with me, but you're in my world right now, you have to agree with me. But basically, I think of this as a layout. This is the before picture to me. Then I want to give this some sort of personality, mood. Well, we'll get to that in the next slide. This is one of my clients. The PayPal folks suggested I put in a real-world example. So this is one of my clients, and this is what their page looks like now because they haven't launched what I did. They didn't want to mess with too many things in Q4. I'm sure you guys will understand that. This is what they call their warm landing page. This is the page people reach when someone has told their friend to check out this company. And they're called iGive, and very quickly, they are a shopping portal where a percentage of purchases you make through their portal go to a charity or cause you choose. So you could even pick your scout troop, I guess you're not in scouts, your kid's scout troops, your nephew's scout troop, so it could be anything. So they know when people get to this page, they probably already know a little bit about iGive. The main action item then is register, join us, start shopping. And they felt that this wasn't converting very well. And I thought there was too much going on here. You had all these paragraphs on the left. You had logos in step 1, 2, 3, all jumbly on the right. You had this big form, which is actually a short form, but thanks to their layout, it looks gigantic. So someone's got a great laugh. So if I ever do stand up, I want you there. So this is what I started with. Now this is called a wireframe. Some people call it a mock-up or a prototype. And basically the idea of a wireframe is, hey, here's how I think your website should be laid out. Here's where I would put your navigation. Here's where I might put anything I'm featuring. Here's where I would put certain messages. Here's how I would lay out your form, but it's got no design or personality yet. Now funny enough, this is what most websites look like right now. I feel like they stopped with the wireframe and forgot the rest of the project. So, and they made me blur some logos, though. Don't tell them. I forgot to blur them on the next slide. But basically, this was the wireframe they eventually approved. Feeling that people probably understood who they were, we went with this layout. And at the top, they're going to be all pop-ups. So when you mouse over how it works, they're going to tell you a little bit more about iGive. When you put your mouse over about iGive, you're going to learn a little bit more. When you mouse over Facebook, there's going to be join our Facebook. They also have a Facebook application. So we're using one set of navigation and then some pop-ups and layers to try to drive people to other pieces of information without cluttering the page, because not everybody who comes to this page needs to know about iGive or wants to know about iGive, or they may already know. So streamlining. The next slide will be how it looks with the design that they finally approved. Again, being about charity and causes, we wanted something that was feel good. They told me that their target audience is mostly women in their 30s, 40s, 50s who are moms, and a lot of their causes have to do with animal rescues, diseases, or I guess not for diseases, against diseases, and usually scout troops and things like that. So we're heavily targeting the moms. And this is what we're going to be testing in the next quarter. So the idea is that's basically the wireframe, but now it's got a mood and personality. We believe it is a mood and personality that will speak to the target audience, that will make them feel involved. Some people look at this and say that's too bright or that's too whatever, and I say, you know what? This doesn't look like anything else you've seen on the web, probably. This will hopefully stand out and make people feel connected to it. I see most of you are looking at it rather than looking at me, so your eye is obviously drawn to it, hopefully in a good way. And again, we're just going to have to test it, because again, part of good UX UI is testing it. We're going to A/B test it, and if it doesn't work, we'll rebuild it, and if it works, I will feel really extra super. Yay, more no words. So there's many ways to support a customer. I just want to make sure I didn't forget no, I did forget a point. This is my list of points to not forget, because I don't have words on the screen. So I wanted to remind people, back on the UX UI side of things, is, you know, there's a nasty rumor going around that developers aren't always the best at user interface. That developers don't always put themselves in other people's shoes to think about process flows and how their target audience, grandma, might want to click on things. So my tip is, please don't be afraid to get some help in this area. Even if you're a one-man or one-woman development shop, there's got to be somebody out there who sees things this way and can help you out. Obviously, you can look me up, but there's also other people on the planet as well, so it's not just the Deb show. Please think about getting some user interface help, because I think it's going to be worth it. I've been talking to a lot of PayPal staffers today and yesterday, and a lot of them are saying to me, we see applications all the time. We think a lot of them have a great potential for success, and sometimes we think they're not going to succeed. We're concerned about how they look, how they lay out, where the buttons are, where the colors are, things like that. So, but a lot of times the PayPal staff are saying to me, we don't always tell people what we think of it, because PayPal's just a piece of a larger application. We're not sure it's our place. We're not sure we want to say these things to these people. So just know that your application can be better. Please don't be afraid to get some help. And I didn't design this stock photo, so I know you're all looking at it going, wow, this is crazy, man. But basically my point here is there's a lot of ways to connect with customers. We can offer email support, support tickets, live chat, Twitter, Facebook, phone calls, text messaging. There's so many ways to try to interface with people. And it's important to think about how we're going to do that, because if there's one thing I know drives me crazy, it's sending in a support ticket because I tried looking at the FAQ, I still couldn't do it, and to get back a form email going, yes, yes, we have found your problem, and it is in one of the following 11 knowledge base articles. Please poke around the knowledge base to find the answer to your question. And time after time, my answer wasn't there, and now I'm just infuriated. First, I'm like, I can't believe I couldn't do this. I can't believe I had to contact someone, and I can't believe they answered me without an answer. So make sure that if you are going to interact with people that you are really giving them real answers, because I'm not an idiot, and if you treat me like one, I will lose it. So the idea about marketing today, and certainly support today, in my opinion, is building a community, making people feel like they're a part of something, making people feel listened to. I've got an Android phone, and I'm in the market all the time looking at apps, and there are so many times I will go and read reviews of an app, and a lot of those reviews will say, wow, this developer was right on it. When I gave him a feature suggestion or an idea or something, wow, he really responded to it. That's so important. It's absolutely important to make people feel listened to and heard and understood. And of course, if you are that flexible to build in what they're talking about. Another great thing about thinking about support from the point of view of building a community is a happy or exceedingly angry user will be your street team. They're going to go out there to their Twitter and their Facebook and their whatever, and they're going to tell everybody about this. I mean, how many times do you hear people talking about this great app I downloaded, you have to check it out? You want that to be your customer. There's no reason why that couldn't be, and what did that cost you? You didn't have to pay that person to say that. You shouldn't pay that person to say that. You want to find the people who are most influential in their circles and have them spread the good news for you. A statistic I saw a few months ago said a happy or unhappy customer can reach 3,000 people within hours, between the people who follow them on Twitter, Facebook, I don't even bother saying MySpace anymore, people who are their real friends in real life, people they might text message, and then the people that ripple out to. If I tell you, oh my God, I have such a great experience with my netbook, this is what I have, you're probably going to mention it to friends next time they say, I'm thinking about getting a netbook. You'll say, well, Debbie really loves her Lenovo S10 3T, you should check it out. I'm sorry, I think that's what it is. And so it's a cool tablet-y thing. So the idea is I may say it to a few hundred people, but then a few hundred people may say it to a few hundred people. And over time, I've influenced zillions of people. So that's why you want to build a community, and you want those people to absolutely fall in love with you, because it's the cheapest marketing money doesn't have to buy. Oh yeah, I've got an animation here. Woohoo! So Twitter can actually be used as a conversation. Imagine that. It's not just for broadcasting people. It's not just for saying something and then ignoring what happens after that. I think some people think Twitter and Facebook are the new email mailing list, where you say something, and when people try to reply, it says, this email address doesn't exist. You don't get to say anything back. Twitter and Facebook are about the community, social networking, social networking. Neither of those words are broadcasting and not listening. So it's about social. It's about making people feel like they're part of a community. Networking, it's about making people feel like they're part of a community. So I went out to Twitter and I did some searching to see what people were saying about PayPal and PayPal applications. Because as a PayPal-related developer, you might want to go out there and see what do people need, what do they like. So this person was talking about using the PayPal mobile app. This person was talking about trying to work with the checkout code. I don't know if he's in this room. These people were looking for people to weigh in on an Android app. And this guy wants to propose a PayPal musical. I wonder if he is here doing that. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about Facebook ads and Google ads. I know I'm running short on time. We will take questions, though I may go a little bit over the 30-minute mark. So Facebook ads, I think, are really excellent for visibility and awareness. This is my personal opinion, and you're welcome to disagree, and we'll spar in the hallway. But basically, I love the targeting. and I love how much I spend on them, but I'm not really getting business from them. However, if you're a Facebook user, you've seen those ads. You've noticed them, your eye went to them, your eye moved back. Maybe you have a little bit of awareness of brands or companies you didn't have before, and if you run into those people at a trade show or something, you'll be like, oh, okay, wait, I feel like I know them. There may even already be some sort of positive association. So I like Facebook ads for visibility and awareness, though I don't necessarily think of them as strong for conversions or follow-throughs. The numbers up top are an actual Facebook ad campaign that I ran. I had over 2 million impressions to a specifically targeted audience. I had 749 clicks. I had nobody hire me, but I spent under $400. So I think for $400, there might be a few 100,000 people out there who saw my logo 20 times, 100 times. Maybe that's going to be worth something down the line when I run into these people again. So this is why I think Facebook ads don't really work from the point of view of conversions. Because think about herding sheep. When I get to Facebook, what am I there to do? Look at ads, follow ads, buy a tent, sign up to a dating website? No, I'm there to take pictures of where I live, take a picture of something I've just eaten, show you a picture of my dog, or of course the requisite sexy picture of myself in the bathroom mirror. So I'm on Facebook for that. You're on Facebook to see that. If you see an ad down the side for getting your PhD from a correspondence course, you're unlikely to click on it. It's not where you were going. You're not herding the sheep. The sheep want to see what I've been eating and what I look like. So, and by the way, I am single. And so if you know anybody, send them this slide. So this is why people are on Facebook, and this is why I think your ads don't really work in that more traditional sense, because you wanted to see my soft tacos, and I mean that literally. So now we've got Google AdWords, and Google AdWords are more about herding sheep, keeping them on that path. And the idea is if I go to Google AdWords and I put in PayPal mobile app, and you come up as in the natural search or as a paid ad, you're going to, they're being herded. They're following the path they were trying to be on. I had website clients in the 90s who said, when you build my meta tags, I want you to put sex in there. And I said, well, you sell pumps and filters for zoos and aquariums. I'm not really feeling the sex. So why would you want that? Well, everyone's going online and searching for sex, so we want our company to come up. I said, okay, but then nobody's going to stay on your website if they even click on it because you're not sexy. You're not giving them what they want. They're going to go somewhere else. So I think Google AdWords work better because you are showing someone exactly what they wanted. So in closing, think about having a product application piece of software that solves a problem, that is giving somebody something they don't already have, or giving something they have in a new and better way. It's got to be better. They're not going to throw away their iPod for something that isn't as hot or hotter. Think about that memorable and easy to spell name. You want to stay connected to me. I ran through the PayPal database, and I don't want to insult anybody, but there's a lot of stuff that I feel like a toddler just fell out of a toddler's head. And so I just want to make sure people are really thinking about what they're naming their product and company. You've got the idea of differentiation. How are you going to stand out? How are you different from other services and applications, even that might be doing the same thing? Maybe you might want to think about a target audience and having a niche so that you are the application for a certain user. Then you can be the best thing in that space. And then think about your target user. Who is she or he? What's going to make sense to them? And I know a bunch of you are thinking, well, anybody can use my app. It's for everybody. If that's the net you want to cast, then you've got to deal with all that goes with that. The branding, the user interface. You now have to have a user interface that makes sense to everybody, from grandma to cool college guy. So just make sure you're thinking about that when you make your decisions. And that's it. So you guys can find me at Brass Flowers, deb@brassflowers.com. That's my Google Voice number. I will be moving back to the area soon, so for people who like to actually look at me, I will be available to be looked at, for those of you not looking at me on Facebook. And so, and you can also find me on LinkedIn, Debbie Levitt. You know, if it exists, it'll say Debbie Levitt somewhere, and it'll probably be me. I didn't run over too badly, and I would be happy to take any questions. questions. We don't have an audience mic, so I'm going to have to ask you to speak up, and then I'll repeat the questions so everyone can hear it. So who has questions? Joe.
What do you think about software development companies where it's just like it's a one-person show, but you don't want to say, hey, it's just me. And I've seen a debate both ways of I'm a company or I'm Joe developer. What's your take on it?
I think it depends. Oh, the question was, Joe has seen different schools of thought of whether or not it makes sense for a one-man or one-woman development shop to act like, hey, it's just me, Joe developer, or hey, I'm some sort of big company. And I think that my answer would be, it kind of depends on who your target audience is. I found that some audiences love the idea of dealing with one guy. He's Joe, he's listening to me, he cares. Other people like the idea of there's a company behind this. So I think we have to think about who we're appealing to and how they would feel about that. In general, I tend to lean more towards the idea of I'm a company, but you just want to make sure that you can wear all those hats. That if a lot of support starts coming in, you've got the time to handle it. And if a lot of partnership ideas come in, you've got the time to handle it because you are every guy. Which was another point I forgot to make about partnerships. I am so tired of people calling me up and going, yeah, we have this thing we want you to recommend to everyone we know, and we're going to offer you a great commission for it. And I say, well, show it to me. If I like it, I'll recommend it. I'm not going to recommend it if I don't like it. And they're going, but we offer a great commission. You're going to make so much money recommending this. And I say, I'm not for sale. That's my reputation on the line. So make sure if you are looking to make strategic partnerships that you are offering real value and not just the commission, because I'm not going to bite. But in general, as someone who owns and runs 3 companies, where in some cases it's the Deb show, it's we. I love your laugh. I'm taking you home. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Sorry. Yes? Yes, yes, should be.
And to the point where they don't put anything down below the fold. What are your thoughts on what you want?
Yeah, that's a great question. And believe me, I wish they'd given me 9 hours to cover this rather than 30 minutes. But the question was, when working with websites and even some mobile applications, there's an idea of the fold. The fold is the point of the page at which people will have to start scrolling to see what's below it. So anything that's not hitting them right away on that first screen. And he's saying that he has a client who is so paranoid about the idea of things being below the fold and people, I guess, not scrolling, he won't even put anything there. My first question would be, where does he think the fold is? Because based on what I've been looking at, my fold is at 360 pixels down for a netbook. And 360 pixels means you get that much vertical space to do everything. It's not going to cut it. Working with the iGive people on another project this week, we decided the fold was 600 pixels. We decided if you're at 1024 by 768 and you have a status bar and you have a title bar and you have your bookmarks toolbar and you have your file edit view and you have your tabs, you've got 600 pixels. So what they decided was certain pages they wanted me to design to have no fold. There was nothing below it, and other pages they decided they were okay with the idea of scrolling. I think you have to start with that guy by telling him, whoa, if you really want to get crazy about the fold, we've got 5 inches on a netbook. Because I think more and more people, at least as I travel and go to events, a lot of people have netbooks or iPads. You know, certainly how much room are you going to get on an iPad, especially when most people I see with iPads are holding them landscape, I guess would be the right word. I don't have an iPad. So I have a tablet netbook, Lenovo S10-3T. So I think that what I would try to tell him is the above the fold is the place to punch people in the face with our most important messages. Let's prioritize our messages. If we can create a page short enough where there is nothing below the fold, fantastic. But we absolutely should not do that by creating lots and lots of columns and cramming everything into above the fold. That's going to end up looking like that printer website. So I don't know. This is where we have to manage the client and their expectations. And we have to punch them in the face a little bit. That's what I do. When people hire me, I say, just so you know, if you have a bad idea, I'm going to tell you you have a bad idea. So be ready. Yes, ma'am. That's a great point. She's asking if I give feedback on their name because I'm saying don't put I at the beginning of things, and they're called iGive. I actually like iGive's name. Now, first of all, they've been doing it for about 14 years, so they're very unlikely to rebrand at this point. Second of all, because it's about giving money to charities and causes through online shopping, I think the idea of iGive is nice and simple and actually does a good job, and it is pre-Apple. So I see what you're saying there, but it's just because of everything that's iPod, iPhone, whatever, I'm just concerned about people now coming out with applications that either are trying to ride on Apple's coattails or may end up just getting confused with each other. When I do this presentation at the eBay Developer Conference, I have this Monty Python style slide where I've gone through eBay's directory of every application it's ever certified, and I've pulled out all the ones that have the word auction in them. And there's about 60. And they're all unmemorable. Like there's auction track and there's auction tracks. You know, do you know what either of them does? Will anybody remember them? So part of my main concern about I is just how it's being a little overused right now. But I hear you. Questions, thoughts, comments, remembrances, disagreements, anger? Yes. Yeah, I got you on the anger.
Yeah, so I'm a programmer, and I related to your comment about how you need to bring people like you into the equation. But it strikes me, from my perspective, that what you do is very subjective. And so how do I evaluate people like you to determine who's actually going to do a good job?
That is a great question. The question was, if you're looking to bring in a designer or user interface person, how can you evaluate that person to see if they're going to be a good fit for you or good at what they do? And I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I overheard a woman here saying that she has user interface designers working for her, and she looked at me and she said, well, you're just like that. And I'm thinking, oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, you didn't. And so my feeling was, having done this for 15 years, I feel like anybody who at some point had a copy of Paint Shop Pro decided they were a web designer. Anyone who had a copy of Front Page was a web designer. So what I tell people to look for is look at their portfolio. If you start to feel like you're seeing the same thing over and over, unless you really love that style, assume that's all they can do. I know a lot of times when I'm looking at hiring artists, I look at their portfolio and I feel like I'm living in WordPress theme hell, where I just feel like I'm seeing the same thing over and over, and I say, you know what? I think that's all they can do. It looks like that's all they can do. Columns and rectangles and white, and that's it. So number one, think about what you need in that kind of visionary and see if that person seems to have any kind of range. Obviously, look at how long they've been doing it. Look at clients if you can. Speak to those clients if you can. I'm not afraid to tell people to talk to my clients. But I think it's also a matter of style and personality. I've found in 15 years of consulting that some people get along fantastically with me. They love my openness. They love my constant flow of crazy ideas, some of which actually work. And some people really wish I were just agreeing with them. And so make sure you have in mind the kind of person you want. Are you really hoping you want someone who will just take your direction and say, you know what, put this over here and make it blue? Then you find a certain kind of person who works well in that paradigm. Or you really want that idea person, that innovator, that brainy smurf. Then look for that person. So those are usually my typical suggestions for both hiring designers or hiring other things, is just to try to look at what they're comfortable doing. Because I'm that weird person who is comfortable with tech and some of the coding side and some of the art side, and so I'm just weird. Yes?
So you're going to A/B test iGive, that landing page, so you don't get the results that you want, or it's basically 50-50. What's your next step?
And we've got a few more minutes, so I apologize. We will have to have a hard stop at about 1:45, so I promise I will stick around after here. I've got cards up here. You've got me up here. I will hang out here in the hallway until everybody has thoroughly harassed me. So the question was, what happens if we A/B test my design for iGive, and if for one reason or another it's declared a failure or it's kind of declared neutral? Obviously, that's in the hands of the CEO as to what he feels. Obviously, if it's neutral, he may or may not run with it. If it fails, I'm thinking he won't run with it. But I will want to try to put things into place to gather opinions, to try to figure out where people disconnected, because I'm all about the connection. And my question is, if their target audience, who is that soccer mom, doesn't look at that and fall in love with it, as I think she will, I want to know why she isn't. So we might consider some exit surveys, or we might, because the people who see that will be signing, hopefully be registering. So we should be able to get some data on them, and I'm also going to talk to them about putting like an opinion lab kind of thing in place, where you can get an in-the-moment opinion, even from people who aren't following through with the action item. So even if people don't register, we might be able to get a quick 2-question survey to them, you know, what'd you think of this, and then a little text. So in theory, I would love to try to collect more spontaneous data on how people felt about it in the moment. But also in theory, I told them I would like to have a focus group, that before it's unleashed, I would love to get a focus group of target users and show it to them and say, how do you feel about this? And that way I can tweak it before it's A/B tested. But I can't really get their attention in Q4 so much. Oh my God, more hands, and I'm down to 1 minute. So I'm just going to have to say, please come see me after class, and I will answer all of your questions. And anyone else who was thinking of talking to me, I'm going to have to give back the microphone and the stage and everything. But please come up and talk to me. And if for some reason we can't talk now, we'll take it in the hall, or we'll schedule a time later. So thank you again. Thank you for staying this late in the PayPal conference and staying awake through my speech.